Ready for filming. Hachi is officially ready to start talking about the books that we've read this year. I have actually not looked at any stats. I have no idea how many books I've read this year. I haven't really thought about my favorite book or any of that. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to search and find a list of questions for the mid-year book freakout tag or whatever that tag is that goes around booktube every year in the summer. And we'll pull up those questions and just like go through them impromptu and see what first pops into my mind. I am not putting any like pressure on myself to hit a specific number goal. Although on Goodreads, I set it for 100 just because that tends to be my average every year. And so I have read a total of 48 books and we're halfway through the year. So I guess that kind of tracks for 100 books a year. I take that as a win if I can read at least one book a month. Basically is my long-term survivable goal. I went ahead and I screenshotted the questions for this mid-year freakout tag for booktube, and I'm just gonna go ahead and look through them and answer them the best that I can. So the first question is the best book that you've read in 2026. Now I need to kind of think because I've read a lot of really good books this year. The first one that comes to mind is honestly Strange the Dreamer. I don't think that that's my top read of the year, but it was a very, very good book that I read recently, so it's like in the forefront of my mind. Another really amazing book that I read was The Wall by Marlon Hausfer, and I think I already know actually. I'm just scrolling through my Goodreads here to just remember everything that I've read, and I think I already know what it was. I don't think I need to even look anymore. I'm probably gonna have a couple. Here are my 3 favorite books from this year. So the first book that I read, I think I read this entire series in February, and I flew through this entire series back to back to back. This is a Kindle Unlimited series. This is called Rain and Ruin by J.D. Evans, and I fell in love with the series so hard, so fast, and it's basically just because it is so classic fantasy with like elemental magic and like a woman is on the throne, and it is just so good. And I think it was just like the elemental magic aspect I feel like was done very well, and the characters were all very lovable, and you invested, at least I found myself really investing emotionally in these characters and their story. Ultimately, this is a romantasy, so it's more of a romance with a subplot of like political intrigue, although the political intrigue was very, very well done and 50-50 with like the romance aspect of it. So it was just a really, really good, well-rounded book for me at the time. And I read the entire series, at least as far as the books that have come out so far. So this was definitely one of the top books that I've read this year, and I will probably stand by that for the rest of the year, to be honest. Like, I absolutely love the series, and she's working on the next book right now. So far there are 5 that are out, and she's working on the 6th one to come out soon, hopefully, because I'm just dying to get back into that series. Next book that is a huge favorite of mine now is The Women by Kristen Hanna. If you've read this book, I don't need to say anything because it's probably on your top list too, but it's basically a historical fiction that's following a girl who enlists herself into the army as a nurse and gets shipped off to the Vietnam War, basically to follow her brother and basically to show everybody that like even though she's a woman, she can still go fight and make a difference in this massive war that's been going on. And you get thrown into it very quickly, and you're following her journey as she's loving and losing people very close to her, and all of the unimaginable like trauma that she sees and witnesses, and it's like hands-on trying to save people's lives. And it is just incredibly sad and moving and makes you want to look more into like the history of the Vietnam War and everything. And I just really, really loved it. I don't really have much else to say. It's just the premise of this whole book is just so important. So I will forever carry this book in my heart. My next favorite book was also by one of my other favorite authors, Frederick Bachman, and that is My Friends. He has this beautiful way of telling stories through a child's perspective or a young person's perspective, and in a way that like helps an adult kind of relate to that. You're getting to see all of these amazing relationships and beautiful friendships form. The love that these characters have for each other was just really moving, and I cried the whole book. Like that's like not even an exaggeration. Like I cried during this whole book, and I just remember like being 60 pages in and already like been sobbing the whole time. Like I'm not going to be able to read this book because I'm just crying the whole time. I just remember like the feelings that it brought out in me, and I immediately recommended this to my mom, and she's read it and she loves it, and I just think that everybody should read it. It's just so good. And if you have any type of like mental health history, or anybody in your life that has mental health disease or whatever, like I think that he talks about it so well, and I believe it's from like his own personal experiences, and it can really touch and like relate to somebody who has had those experiences in their life and like struggles and battles with that as well. So yeah, I loved it. Anxious People is also like neck and neck with this book for me. I just love both of them so much. So I put this book off a long time, as well as The Women, because I knew how it was going to make me feel. And I'm very glad that I finally read them. The next question, worst books that you've read this year. This is kind of a hard question for me because I don't try and read books that I think are gonna be bad. For me, I think my least favorite, I wouldn't say worst books, but my least favorite 2 books that I've read this year are The Poet Empress by Xin Tao, unfortunately. And I think that is only and strictly because of the gruesomeness of it and just like the viciousness, violence in that book. That was just kept going and going and going, and it almost took away my ability to like enjoy what I was reading. Besides the fact that it's an absolutely gorgeous, stunning book, I just really didn't enjoy it very much, and it was mainly because of that aspect of it. But I think, and I know a lot of people do really enjoy it, so if you can get kind of past that, then maybe you would love it. But I just couldn't really get behind the violence in this book. And it was like specifically violence towards women, which just hits another little level for me, unfortunately. And then another one that was a DNF was Once We Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. Yeah, Charlotte McConaughey. I think I was just kind of bored with that book, honestly. As well as The Maidens by Alec Michalide. Those are probably my least favorite books this year, and they were both DNFs. So let's see, next question is the best sequel you've read so far this year. The best sequel? Does that have to be the second book in the series or like the next book in the series? Because I read the last book, The Tempest Blade, and that was like one of my favorite books. And I also read Dawn of the North, which was like the third book. I guess maybe the best sequel would have to be either the next book in the Reign and Ruin, the second book in Reign and Ruin series, or the second book in the Game of Thrones, which was Clash of Kings with I can't say that. Clash of Kings, which I just read. Why was that so difficult to say? Yeah, I think those have to be my 2 like best sequels. And I guess that's kind of hard because yeah, I've read a lot of series this year, which is really good, but Clash of Kings and the second book in the Reign and Ruin series, which is Storm and Shields, these were probably my favorite 2. There are a couple that I have not read yet, like Rites of Starling and second book in the Moonfall series. I have not read those yet. I'm kind of scared. So let's see, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I mean, do I even have to say it? Like, I think this is everybody's most anticipated release for the end of the year, and that has to be the ACOTAR 6. We've been waiting forever for that, and I have no idea the direction that she's going to go with that. I did not watch the podcast. I have no idea. I've just kind of stayed blind through the whole thing, and I don't want to know. I just want to go in fully surprised in what direction this book is going to go. I already have it pre-ordered. Like, I am ready to go. Another one that I am highly anticipating, Burn of the Everflame by Pin and Cole. I read the Spark of the Everflame series like as it was coming out in the indie version, and I'm pretty upset that we haven't gotten it yet, but I'm so glad that we finally have a date, and I really hope that she sticks to it because it's been moved in the past. So I'm insanely excited for that book and very highly anticipating that one, as well as the second book in the Silversmith series, whatever the series is called, by LJ Claren. I really love this book. It wasn't perfect, but like the vibes were so good. So good in this book. So I'm super excited to see where it goes. Next question is the biggest surprise book of the year. Probably Strange the Dreamer or Legends and Lattes, actually. I think Legends and Lattes was probably the biggest surprise, that I loved it so much. Strange the Dreamer, I kind of already had an idea of like what it was going to be like, and I didn't realize I was going to love it as much as I did. But Legends and Lattes, I had been putting off, really thought I was not going to like it because of like the orc vibe of it. Like they're not human beings, and so kind of like weirded me out a little bit, but it just works the way that his writing style is. So Legends and Lattes has to be the biggest surprise of this year. I love this little series. It's so cozy, it's so lovable. There's just so much good in this book. It's so sweet. And If you don't know anything about the series, it's basically following our female main character, Vivian, who's an orc, and she's like an orc warrior. She's like a really badass warrior, but she's kind of over the violence. She's ready to just settle down. She wants to do something that's fulfilling for her. So she goes and she opens up a coffee shop and calls it Legends and Lattes. She meets all these like little side characters that are so stinking cute and quirky, and I love them all. Every time I dive into this little series, I just feel like I'm getting a giant warm hug. So I very much highly recommend this little series. Definitely the biggest surprise this year. Achi's still fast asleep down here, just so you know. Favorite author, debut, or new to you? Is that like asking like my favorite author? Honestly, I think I've just solidified this year that Frederick Bachman is a favorite author of mine, as well as Megan Church, who wrote The Mad Wife and The Last Carolina Girl. Both of those books I really loved. And then I also found a new favorite author that I believe is going to continue being a favorite author of mine, which is Catherine Kent. She wrote A Poisoner's Tale, which I read earlier this year and really loved. If you've read The Lost Apothecary, this one really reminded me of that, but almost with like more depth. And it's just a really cool story how the author came about writing this. She literally went to these old libraries and like studied up on this ancient tale of this first female serial killer in Rome, and just like super cool what she got to do to like study this. And she's coming out with another book. Thank goodness. At first, when I first reviewed this, I didn't think she had another book that was coming out, but she does early this year, and I'm very excited for her next book as well. So yeah, this was definitely a new favorite author of mine for sure. Newest fictional crush. Maybe the guy in Rain and Ruin series, or I don't know if I've really found like a crush this year. You know what, actually, Bird of Nightmares. Who was this following? Sloth. He definitely had a couple smooth lines in this book that I really enjoyed. It has a cool tattoo. If you have read this book, you know what I'm talking about. And then, as always, in Road of Bones, I read Dawn of the North, and Ray, he will always be a crush of mine. And I have a girl crush too. My girl crush right now is Orca in Shadow of the Gods. She is incredible. Like, girl crush all the way. I would love to be her. A book that made me cry. We've already talked about these books. It was My Friends and The Women. Both made me cry like absolute baby. I don't need to continue blabbing about those books because those books made me sob, not even cry, sob. A book that made me happy, definitely Legends and Lattes, and like that whole series, to be honest. You know, I don't really read a whole lot of books that make me happy. I read a lot of hard hitters and like hard reading type of books. I don't know what that says about me as a person. Another book, I guess that made me happy, but like a sad happy, was A Tempest Blade by Danielle L. Jensen. And I am slowly starting to collect these old indie hardbacks, and I somehow like got my hands on these two most recent releases in this. I think she had done like a one-time release. There's like a link floating around where you can go and buy these, and it has like the bridge print so that readers who have been reading from the very beginning can get like a completed series. So I somehow got my hands on these last two, The Twisted Throne and A Tempest Blade, and I cannot believe it. I'm like in shock that I own these. Yeah, I think A Tempest Blade, that one made me very happy to finally like wrap up the series, because that's one of my favorite series ever, but also like a sad happy. The most beautiful book you've bought this year or received. I don't know if I like have a most beautiful book that I've bought or received this year, but this one might be kind of simple, but it's beautiful, like in the simplicity. I have not read this book yet. This is In Memoriam by Alice Wynne, but I really want to read this book. But I just love the cover so much. It's just like a work of art. I think it's beautiful. And then also The Unicorn Hunters by Catherine Arden. Like, come on, this book is just whimsy and beautiful and gorgeous and stunning, and I love this very much. What else is like a really, oh, I forgot about this book. This book right here is absolutely stunning. This is called The Blood Plagues by Averin J. Just look at that. And then the inside as well has, of course, like pretty end paper, or not end papers, chapter headers, and has just, yeah, really stunning format. I've not read it yet. Those are probably some of my prettiest books that I got this year. I can't forget about this one as well. This is A Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. I have not read this yet, but I really want to read it soon. There's pictures of dragons in here as well. The next question is, what books do you need to read by the end of this year? That's a heavy-ended question. I have a list. I have my 26 books that I want to read in 2026, but ultimately that list is hard because reading 26 specific books and setting it at the very beginning of the year is difficult because you have to read at least 2 books from that list every single month to really make that work. My taste is changing, and like I'm a huge mood reader, so like I'm not gonna force myself to read something that I wanted to read at the beginning of the year. Like some of those books I might even unhaul at this point because I haven't read them yet. So that's a tough question, but I think my main series that I want to finish are, I want to finish the Game of Thrones series this year. I want to finish the Witcher series this year. And I want to read one more classic, which I think is going to be Jane Eyre. And then honestly, those are kind of like the only books that are really standing out besides like the ACOTAR. I know that end of the year is going to be very much focused on like reading the rest of the ACOTAR series and the Burn of the Everflame. Another book that's like really standing out to me right now is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. I need to read this year because I've just been putting it off for far too long. I just need to get to it. It's not going to take me very long. I already know I'm going to love it. Handmaid's Tale was a hard book to read, so I think that's why I'm like kind of dragging my feet a little bit on this one. But I think those are kind of like the main books that I can like think of right now that I really just have to read by the end of this year. What books do you want to reread this year? I don't think I'm going to reread any books, I'm being honest. I'm not a big rereader unless it's like years and years down the road. Like all these books that I have read so far, I'm going to be keeping until I don't want them anymore, but like I'm keeping them because I have the want to read them at some point in the future again, but like I'm not gonna reread all these books. Like let's be honest, I'm going to keep reading new books and just like enjoying new worlds and stuff. So like I'm not a big rereader. I think I've reread maybe one book in the past like 3 or 4 years. Not really a good question for me, at least. A book you enjoyed with mixed reviews. Oh, that's a good question. Let me go back and look through my list of books that I've read this year and see if there are any that are like mixed, because I know that there are series out there that like I've really enjoyed and other people haven't. But this year I just really feel like I've read a lot of really good books. The best one probably for this question, oh, sorry, Haji, is probably going to be Throne of Nightmares by Carrie Maniscalco. I know that her series are like mixed by a lot of people, and for whatever reason, this series following each of the Princes of Sin is just such a hit for me. It has not been a hit every time. Like the previous book before this one, Throne of Secrets, was not really my favorite, but I really enjoyed this one, and I've definitely seen mixed reviews on this one. I think I love this one so much just because of like the bookish aspect of it. It was just catering so well to book girlies out there and like lovers of just like literature and reading and books and just everything about reading. And it's almost like you have to not take it too seriously to really love these books. I think these books have like a little inkling of humor to them in my mind, so when I'm reading them, like I'm not taking them too seriously. I'm just there for the vibes. I'm just there to have a good time, which is usually the case. Like I'm not there to like take a book like super seriously, you know what I mean? So I think that's why these work so well for me. And there's definitely just like a really fun aspect to them. You're just like always going on these adventures. There's always this really spicy like love quest and like a romance. And I just love anything that revolves around like Princes of Sin or like the 7 Princes of Hell. I think just like really fun and fascinating. So I think that this one is probably the one that's like the most mixed reviews that I really like. The last question is 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. Automatically, if I read anything by Frederick Bachman or Margaret Atwood or Kristen Hanna for the rest of the year, if I were to read any more of their books, I think they're probably automatically going to be 5-star. I also think that Muse of Nightmares, I'm looking at it right now, so I'm remembering it. I think that Muse of Nightmares is going to be a 5-star for me. I've heard that this book might even be better than the first one, which is Strange the Dreamer, if you don't know. And I am really excited to get into this book and see what that is. But I have a high suspicion this is going to be a 5-star read for me, as well as Ballad of Falling Dragons. I really loved When the Moon Hatched when I read it, but I read it a long time ago. I read it like 3 years ago when it first came out. I've been just kind of nervous to get into this one. 1, because it's a little bit long. 2, because I'm afraid I forgot everything. And because I've seen kind of mixed reviews about it. So we'll see. I think I'm gonna really love it because I loved When the Moon Hatched, and I think that, you know, people who tend to not like it are the ones who did not really love When the Moon Hatched or like the writing style, because it can be very flowery type of writing. So another series that if I am fortunate enough to be able to start this year, Poppy War. I really think that the Poppy War is going to be a 5-star for me. So I think that out of the books that I'm looking at right now, they're kind of on my like TBR, like on higher priority. I think that these are probably the ones that are the highest potential to getting a 5-star rating for me. And I'm finding myself to be a little bit more picky as I get a little bit older and a little bit more crunchy. I think I'm becoming a little bit more picky in giving out my like ratings and stuff, while also like not really taking it too seriously. I don't know. I'm just like really enjoying who I'm becoming as a reader and kind of like following along as like my tastes are changing and stuff, and just having a good time. Like that's all reading is about for me. Like it's just about having a good time, reading for entertainment, meeting other people who have like similar tastes or not, and just like talking about books. It's just so fun. That's all it is for me. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video and watching all the way through if you have. I appreciate you guys so much, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the year brings for this channel. So I hope you guys have had a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys in the next video next Saturday. Bye guys.